Now taking the field, your starting lineup for the Washed Up Podcast. Batting first, he's got hot takes and harder swings. Nate Mueller. In the 2 spot, breaking down plays and calling out the refs, Alex Schneider. And batting third, bringing the heat with no filter, Derrick Dunn. This is the Washed Up Podcast. Baseball, football, and more, where the game never ends and the takes keep coming. Let's get into it.
All right, guys, welcome to the first episode of the Washed Up Podcast. We will be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Our social handles are as follows. There's a bunch of them, so stick with us. We have the Washed Up Podcast on Facebook, the Washed Up Podcast 25 on Instagram, the Washed Up Podcast on TikTok, Washed Up Pod 25 on X or Twitter for you old folks like me. I am Nate. I have my co-host here, Schneidz and Derrick. I grew up playing baseball, so I'm really into sports, mostly baseball. My co-hosts here, they're a little bit different than me. I'll let them tell you about themselves. I played high school ball. I umpired baseball. I actually reffed basketball as well. I coached a season of Park League baseball, and that about wraps it up for me.
My name's Alex Schneider. I grew up playing baseball from the age of about 5. I played all the way up until high school, and then after high school did a little bit of coaching. Now pretty much play slow pitch softball, which makes it even funnier that it's the Washed Up Podcast. That pretty much sums up my sports background.
Yeah, and my name is Derrick. I played football and baseball throughout school. Played them both all the way throughout high school, and then played a little bit of collegiate football. Just trying to stay involved with doing some coaching and the youth programs around town. So that's just a little bit about my background.
Yeah, so we actually, we all three went down to Florida in April and played in a slow pitch tournament put on by Spiders. It's a draft tournament. So we all played on different teams, but it was a lot of fun, and so it goes to show again, like Schneidz said, we're a little washed up playing our slow pitch softball. The ball comes in a lot slower, so it's a lot easier to hit. We're going to get started tonight. It is the 16th of July. We record on Wednesday nights. You guys will get this on Thursdays. We're going to start talking about a little baseball news. The All-Star game was last night. So we will start there. This was the most interesting All-Star game I think I've ever watched start to finish. I've missed a few throughout the years. But the NL had a 6-0 lead due to Ketel Marte, a 2 RBI double in the first off of Skubal. Alonso had a 3-run home run, and Corbin Carroll hit a solo home run to put the National League up 6-0. It was a pretty pitching-dominated game, with the exception of those 3 swings. Later on in the game, Rooker hit a 3-run home run to get the scoring started for the AL. Bobby Witt Jr. had 2 RBIs, and Stephen Kwan for the Cleveland Guardians had an RBI infield single in the 9th to tie the game. It then went into a swing-off. The first swing-off we've seen in the All-Star game. This rule's been in place about 3 years. It's interesting. They had three. Each manager picked 3 players to participate in the swing-off. Now, each player gets 3 swings, and the National League had Stowers and Schwarber and Alonso, who didn't get to hit. And then the American League had Rooker, Rosarena, and Aranda. Stowers started off, went 1 for 3. Rooker went 2 for 3. Rosarena went 1 for 3. And then Schwarber, to win the MVP of the All-Star game, went 3 for 3 with 3 homers. This guy was 0 for 2 in the game. Didn't get a single hit in the 9 innings they played, but hits 3 home runs in the swing-off and ends up with the MVP. Schneidz?
I don't necessarily understand the. I guess the swing off part is just supposed to be entertaining for fans to watch guys, hit home runs because that's what's going to make people watch it. That's what's going to make kids watch it. I said it last night as I was watching a little bit of it. I'm starting to feel like the MLB All-Star game is going to end up being like the Pro Bowl, which I don't know if you've watched a Pro Bowl game. It's terrible. But him getting the MVP doesn't surprise me at all. You see it all the time in sports, like guys that, they play horrible for an entire game. You pick whatever sport you want, but as long as they hit the shot to win the game, or they throw the last second touchdown, or they hit the home run in the 11th to win the game, however it works out, they always win the MVP. It's crazy. It's crazy to me though that I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't know that the managers pick who goes to the swing off. I have a hard time. This is what makes me think it's like the Pro Bowl. I don't know if anybody else looked at the lineup for, or the overall rosters for the NL and AL, but like Derrick, does it make sense to you that the guy that won the home run derby is not one of the players picked to participate in a swing off that's meant to hit home runs? Also, the guy that's hit 38 home runs at the halfway point of the season, and that guy is not listed to hit for the AL in the home run derby. Does that make sense to you?
Well, I think it kind of goes back to, we had kind of had this discussion the other night, some of the guys who opted out of doing it. Do you think that has something to do with him not being in it? Do you think he just doesn't want to mess up his swing at that point?
Well, no, he was in the home run derby.
Well, maybe with the swing off, him doing it, 2 times, maybe it's a little bit different with that. I don't know. So my thing is, obviously I don't have a ton of background in the All-Star game for MLB, but I think when you relate to the Pro Bowl, I think a lot of the All-Star games are going to start going to that format. As someone who doesn't really pay attention a whole lot to the MLB, do I really think that the swing off is going to really attract me to watch the game more than what I previously was? That's kind of what it feels like they're trying to get at, is to, attract a new audience. And I think with someone who doesn't really follow it like you guys do, it didn't really move the mark for me. If you'd have told me, hey, they're adding this new thing at the end where they're going to do this swing off, I don't really know if that would do it for me. Does that? That's just my kind of opinion.
They had an article that came out. I think I saw it today. I didn't click on it, but the viewership of the MLB All-Star game was down, including the swing off. Yeah, I think a lot of your old school fans just aren't gonna watch an All-Star game. If it's here's the thing: if you're just gonna try, if you come out if MLB came out and said, hey, we know the players that we picked for the swing off obviously aren't the best candidates, but we're trying to get the players involved. It's just trying to be fun. Then sure, I guess do what you want. But I guess my biggest thing, and Nate, I'll see what you have to say about it. But I miss when the MLB All-Star game meant something. I know it wasn't I guess at the end of the day it wasn't a huge deal, but you actually had guys playing a game and they were playing to win. I don't know. I'm not gonna turn on the MLB All-Star game just to for the fun of it, I guess.
Well, I'm a baseball guy through and through. It really doesn't matter where the game is, or if my players on the Braves get to the All-Star game or not. I'm going to watch it if I'm available to watch it. Now, I thought it was kind of cool to do the swing-off thing. It's odd. It's different. But it was kind of exciting to watch. You had all the NL players cheering Schwarber when he was hitting all of them and jumping up and down. That he's getting a standing ovation in Atlanta as a Philadelphia Philly. That doesn't happen. The Braves fans hate Phillies fans, hate Phillies players. But I do think I miss when the game meant something. I mean, they had no choice but to go to a swing-off in this game because both teams had already run through all their pitchers. So, to me, yes, it is kind of a neat way to go about it, but the good old days All-Star games when, there was a few of them that went extra innings and they were exciting, and that's the baseball purist standpoint there. And I don't know, man. I think they both are good in their own way. But yeah, I'd like to see it again. I don't know how often it'll happen that the All-Star game comes to a tie. But I think a lot of the issue with All-Star games in general, or the Pro Bowl, or whatever, the NBA All-Star game where they don't play defense, is just that so many players are worried about getting hurt.
Yep.
And missing out on money, and that's the thing. I think that goes back to what Derrick said about guys sitting out. Like, they don't want to ruin their chance at a second half to go to the playoffs or to risk an injury, and that's why you see a lot of guys in the All-Star game, in the home run derby, that you normally wouldn't see. Like, we had a home run derby that didn't showcase Judge, didn't showcase Pete Alonso, didn't showcase Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Ronald Acuna Jr. wasn't in it. All of the premier star players, Shohei Ohtani, these guys were not in the home run derby. And you have guys like Jazz Chisholm going out hitting 3 home runs. Like, nobody wants to see that. It's just, it's different times now. It's more about the money. And it's more about, what they're looking at their second half and not caring nearly as much about the All-Star game. Whereas, I don't know, 5-10 years ago, they did care about it.
So my opinion is I think the MLB is going to have kind of, I don't want to call it a wake-up call because it sounds like it kind of has a negative notation to it. But I do think in regards of, like, the Pro Bowl, like, the NFL eventually saw, like, viewership was down, guys aren't really wanting to play because they're scared of getting hurt. So they kind of tried to do this pivot to where they're doing the Pro Bowl games instead of trying to force the AFC versus NFC or, the legends drafting the teams. Instead of trying to force that to try to be like the old times, they've kind of pivoted and been like, okay, we understand that, in my opinion, I think they understand that the Pro Bowl is not going to be the way it used to be. And now they're trying to do these Pro Bowl games to try to pivot. They've kind of accepted that it'll probably never go back to being, an 11-on-11, full contact, which, before they got rid of it, guys were letting up and, taking plays off, which, again, that's that fine line of not wanting to get hurt. Do I blame them for not wanting to go 100% in a game that, is just an all-star game, basically? But is the MLB going to have to eventually come to that point to where they're like, okay, which I don't know what the viewership looked like this year, but, the NFL basically, in my opinion, looked at it as like they accepted that viewership was down and they tried to pivot to do something else. I'm going to be honest, I don't pay attention to the Pro Bowl, and I didn't really watch it beforehand, but I can respect the fact that they're trying to pivot, accepting that, it probably will never be an 11-on-11 format again, and trying something different. Like, do you think the MLB is going to eventually have to do something like that? The main thing that I think about is, like, pitchers, guys not wanting to blow up their arms. And I don't know how much, they probably don't pitch that much in the All-Star game, but, like, it can happen whenever,
Okay, so here's
that's interesting too, though. If it can happen whenever, it could have happened last week, it could happen next week. To me, like...
Right, but if you lose a guy during an All-Star game, I feel like that stings a little bit more. Like, yeah, he wanted to compete possibly in the game, but, like, I don't want to say it's a meaningless game,
So here's the thing. I think that the whole the way that we look at being honored as an All-Star or a Pro Bowler or whatever, is different. Like, because when you hear, so I know it's not every player, right? Every player that plays in the major leagues, every player that plays in football, basketball, hockey, blah, blah, blah. They're not all getting in the Hall of Fame, right? So, but when you hear them talk about guys that are going into the Hall of Fame, like, what are the things you hear about, right? You're hearing about, like, we'll take football, for instance, because we can all kind of speak to this one. You hear about, like, quarterbacks, right? We're talking about a quarterback going into the Hall of Fame. We're making the case for him, right? We hear about total touchdowns. We hear about total interceptions. We hear about his QBR, the completion percentage, total yards throwing. Nowadays, you hear
about Super Bowls.
Yeah, and Super Bowls.
MVPs,
right? And at the bottom of that list, right, that they just kind of throw in as like a filler stat is Pro Bowls, right? And it is the same thing with MLB All-Stars, okay? But there was a time when we didn't care if a guy had won a World Series or not. We cared about how many times he was in the All-Star game, because guys never turned down the invite to go to the All-Star game, right? We didn't care about guys. Like, if Randy Johnson had the same career that he had, but never won a World Series, but was a 10-time All-Star, he still, he makes the Hall of Fame. There was a time where people would look at your selection to whatever the sport may be, because I don't know what hockey calls it, if I'm being honest with you, but to your All-Star game, to your Pro Bowl, people used to look at that and it mattered how many times you were selected to go to the All-Star game. I think that plays a huge part in it. I think that like I said, I think the way that we view it has gone down. It's just one of those things where, like, like Nate, as a Braves fan, Ronald Acuna Jr., when his career is all said and done, no one gives a rip on how many times he was voted an All-Star. No one cares.
I think to an extent, though, like, there are players that you could go look up their baseball reference page, and you're going to see that they were, from decades ago, that were 15, 20-time All-Stars. And I think there's some value to the quantity of times. But when you're talking about nowadays where it's basically a strictly fan vote type of situation, other than the one captain that automatically gets shooed in, whoever gets the most fan votes gets shooed in, and then the rest you have to do like they vote against each other, and then you pick between the two players and everything. I think part of that makes a difference. And also, like, contrary to the NFL, this is only the first half of an MLB season. While you might have a player that gets elected to an All-Star game, if he plays like trash the rest of the year, I mean, does that really show you, like, yes, he was elected an All-Star, so that means, he had a good first half of the season, and his second half, who knows what he did? I think that's an interesting part of this as well. Like, NFL, they do it throughout the whole season, and it's right before the Super Bowl. So I think, in a way, MLB still has, at the end of the year, their all-MLB team. You still get your Gold Gloves, your Silver Sluggers, things like that. The NFL has their all-pro teams, the all-pro first team, all-pro second team. So I think that makes a difference, too, because so what, you had a good first half of the season.
So here's the next question that I have. Okay, since we're talking about both, I mean, we're really going after, like, MLB All-Star Game and the Pro Bowl. I'm almost to the point now. I don't know what it's like for the NFL. I don't know if guys turn it down a lot, or because the season's pretty much done that they actually attend if they make the Pro Bowl. But for MLB, I'm going to say, and this. I'm going to say it. I think this is the first hot take of the podcast here. I'm almost okay with them selecting All-Stars and just not playing the game, if I'm being honest. Like,
yeah,
I'm almost
see,
to the
kind of...
I'm just to the point where, like, if you want to announce, like, I don't know how you would break it down, if it's by like how many per position or whatever, but I'm kind of okay with them just having a stage. Like, you can do the home run derby, like that's fine. I know in Japan, it's either Japan or Korea, they do like a skills challenge for their All-Star game. So
yeah, I've seen the bunting.
yeah, like and that's, I guess it, for some people that might be fun to watch, but there's not an actual like there wouldn't be an actual game, but there would be a way to honor the people that actually earned the right to be an All-Star, and would make guys show up. Like, you're talking about baseball, man. Like, a regular season's 162 games, and you play during the hottest time of the year. So I'm just like, hey, make it a week vacation. Let guys rest. Get them ready for the second half. Don't play the actual game. Just have them all show up. Do the home run derby. Do all the fun stuff that you're going to do. Just don't actually play the game, because I think if we're talking about in the MLB where fans are losing interest in watching to where we have to put in pitch clocks, and now we're talking about automated umpires, and like we're trying to make the game faster and all this kind of stuff, like I think in due time you're just not going to have people watching the All-Star game.
And I mean, I think that goes back to what I was saying, like, is the MLB going to have like their come-to moment where, they have to possibly make that tough call of, let's just make it a skills competition or something like that. Like I said, like the NFL eventually did, viewership's down. And again, like you mentioned, it's a big difference with MLB because, that is the halfway point in the season. And in my opinion, I think that is even more of a case to not have a game. Like you said, give the guys time to rest, especially if the game isn't as meaningful as it used to be. Why not just give the guys the rest? If you want to try to fill the time and do a skill competition, great. But I think, the MLB is a long season, so
with
I
very
can
little
see
breaks.
Both ways. I can see both ways. I can see why players don't want to do it, but I can also see the tradition side from the MLB's perspective of keeping it alive.
Doesn't the Pro Bowl play flag football?
Yeah, but that's just 7 on 7.
Right, no,
like, that's
right,
not...
yeah. So, like, here's the thing. Like, instead of playing an actual baseball game, play a game of wiffle ball.
Well, I don't know.
Well, dude, like, you're gonna, like, nobody can sit there and tell, like, yes, if you're a baseball purist, right, and I like to consider myself that, but I'm also to the age where, like, if I sit there and watch the All-Star game, I feel like I'm wasting hours of my life watching guys just, like... I'm all for dudes, like, getting along and whatnot, but, this is a topic for another show that I could get into, but, like, I don't know. I don't know about you guys. It would be hard for me to play a game, and when I step in between the white lines, not, like it's not having the mindset of, like, it's me versus them. You know what I mean? It's tough for me to... It's just tough for me to handle that.
Yeah, you already know how I am. I'm competitive as fuck. But here's the thing. The game changed when they decided for it not to matter anymore. When they said the winner of the All-Star game doesn't matter, you're not going to get home field advantage for the World Series, everything with the All-Star game started to go downhill. When it's a game that you're not playing for a reason, then, what do you expect? Why would a player risk being there and hurting himself?
Oh, I agree.
What I think would be cool, and this will probably never happen.
Dodgeball.
But I think it'd be sweet. Have you ever seen the like extreme wiffle ball things like on TikTok, where they like can throw those nasty curveballs and they play on like the small fields? I, as someone who doesn't really watch the sport, right? I think that would be entertaining to watch some of the best, baseball athletes in the world try to play something like that. Like, I don't know if that would mess up their swings, or like for the pitchers if they would mess up their... I don't know any of that type of stuff, but I think that would be super entertaining if they went away from the traditional game format. Because if you think about it, that would be something similar to like a flag football for the Pro Bowl. Like,
it might help Jordan Walker hit a slider.
It's just kind of a fun thing to see how they would adapt to. I know, like I said, it would probably never happen, but like, I think that would be super interesting to watch.
Are we? I mean, are all of us in agreement that, like, I would the way that I would put it would be the best thing for the MLB would be to find an alternative than playing the All-Star game?
I don't know if I would say that. I like the All-Star game. I sat there and watched every out of it last night. On to the swing off, stayed up late, was tired all day at work, still tired.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand how much of a baseball purist Mr. Nathan Mueller is. This is the 80-year-old man that you know that records a game that was at noon, knows the outcome of the game, and will still go back at 9 o'clock at night and rewatch it. Like that's
I have
like,
rewatched some Braves
that
games.
That is the level of where he's at. My last point on the topic would just be find something else to do other than the actual game, because if we're gonna vote All-Stars, I want it to mean something, and I don't want guys to be to make probably the logical, smart choice of not playing because of risk of injury, which then of course is a risk of losing income. Like I understand why they say no. But if that's what we're going to do, and I'm going to have... we had a reliever from the Brewers who has 5 appearances through 90-something games as an All-Star because a bunch of people said no. Like, I know the dude throws gas. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. But 5 pitching appearances in 90 games, 90-some-odd games, and that guy gets to now claim he was an All-Star.
So, I know we're running kind of long on this topic, but... I want to throw this out here as a potential thought too, kind of as a last discussion point. What if they shortened the game? Do you think that would make a difference? Or because if, in my opinion, you could shorten it, but then at that point, like, just get rid of it altogether. Like, that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, what would you guys' thoughts be on that?
My final thought for this. For the idea, and I don't think your idea isn't bad, to be honest. I'm gonna end mine with a broader statement, and I think where I'm at with it is I truly believe that the MLB needs to find an alternative to do and honor the All-Stars that have been voted in by whoever, then play a 9-inning game and not have actual people deserving of the All-Stars voting be there.
Well, because of my baseball purist, if that game last night would have went 16 innings, I probably would have stayed up for a lot of them. It's just in me. I don't know what it is, but I love watching the game the way it is. I would hate to see it be 7 innings. I would hate to see him play wiffle ball. I would hate to see him get rid of it altogether. I enjoy watching it, but yeah, you're not going to get casual fans when the game goes extra innings to stay. I mean, even at Atlanta last night, right after the swing off, they're interviewing Schwarber, and there's nobody left in the stadium. Like it was kind of sad, really. But anyways,
do we want to pivot to? Since we're talking about All-Star, do you want to talk about some... Do you feel like there were any snubs or anything like that?
The only ones that I can think of, really, is Juan Soto probably should have been there with the amount of guys that didn't play. His numbers weren't great out of the gate, and I think that's what held him back. And then the other one is Christopher Sanchez for the Phillies. They made a big deal about the guy from the Brewers, Mizorowski, being there after 5 appearances, and not Sanchez, who had a really good first half. And really, those are the only 2. But I did see that the Phillies paid the bonus for All-Star to Christopher Sanchez, and I just read an article that the Rangers did the same for Nathan Eovaldi.
Good. I like seeing when a professional sports team still pays for their players to get the incentives and the bonuses. that they so rightly deserve. I'm glad that the Phillies did that.
We have a note here about Mr. Devers.
Ooh, yes.
Schneidz, I know you have some pretty strong opinions about this, and I do as well.
Okay, so to kick it off, basically what happened was Rafael Devers, if you guys don't know, if you've been living under a rock or you just don't pay attention to baseball, Rafael Devers was a I don't know, probably a top 10 player in baseball for the last few years. Was a third baseman for the Red Sox. They had some controversy because they signed Alex Bregman in the offseason, so they asked, who was also a third baseman, so they asked Devers about switching positions. And I believe his quote was, I play third. So, obviously some rift there because they wanted him to play first. And he basically told them no, that he wasn't going to do that. So, with the rift going on, the Red Sox decided to trade him, right? I'm going to make this clear, too, because this will come back later in the conversation. The Red Sox paid him a contract based off of being a top 10 player, third baseman, right? The money value there. So they trade him, send him over to San Francisco. He basically gets there. From the way that it sounded, he was up to kind of doing whatever they needed to win. I believe was something like the quote, because he was asked about playing first base. So the Giants are in Boston, and they're like, hey, Clark, I think Will Clark, I'm guessing, by the article that I'm reading here by Michael Bronner of Sports Illustrated, wanted him to come out and learn some first base, right? He's like, hey, I'm here, let's learn, let's see what we can do for you, because they have Matt Chapman, who, I don't know if you guys don't know, it's like, he's basically like Nolan Arenado was 4 years ago. Dude's won Gold Gloves, Platinum Gloves. He's an unbelievable defensive third baseman. Devers is not playing over him at third base. And from it sounds like he had a open invite to show up to learn some first base for like 2 days. I think this article says it was like Saturday and Sunday. Here we go. Yeah, Clark stated that he was asked by manager Bob Melvin to work with Devers at first base during the weekend of the series against Boston, days after his arrival to the Bay Area, but controversially stated Devers stood him up. I didn't know this part when we kind of talked about this before we did this show. I guess it was stated that Devers didn't feel good about doing it in front of former Red Sox teammates, that he basically... and this, I think, is a very coward thing to do here by Devers. He didn't want to do it in front of former Red Sox teammates after he basically told the Red Sox, yeah, I'm not learning first base. So my question here to you guys is, and I'll start with Derrick here. Did you ever have, in all of your levels of playing sports, did you ever have guys that were like, nope, I'm the quarterback, I'm not learning how to play middle linebacker, or I'm the shortstop, I'm not moving to second base? Because I feel like, I'll just ask a question and I'll do mine later, but did you have any of those guys ever growing up? Obviously don't mention by name, but and then what were your thoughts? How did you feel as a teammate of theirs? And also just as a player of the sport when that happened?
Yeah, so I kind of am torn on this, I feel like. I didn't run into it as much as, through school and the high school level, obviously, because most of the time you're growing up and your position's set from a young age, unless you obviously have this growth spurt and, changes. Obviously a quarterback can't be 300 pounds, so you're probably going to be moved to the offensive line. But, I noticed it more when I got to, the collegiate level. when obviously you're trying to blend guys from all these different schools, play all these different positions. I mean, you definitely run into it, unfortunately. I think, now granted, I've never been paid the amount of money that they get paid, professional athletes. So that's, again, where this kind of, me being torn on it. Me personally, I don't know if I could ever sit out due to like a position dispute. But like you mentioned, if he's paid as a top 10 third baseman, like in my opinion, he's got some validity to that. If he doesn't want to play first base, you paid me as a top 10 third baseman. But then you can also go back on the organization side and be like, we are paying you as a top player in this league. So, I think it's very dependent, on the player, obviously. Like, you're going to have guys that just love the game of sports, or love the game that they're playing. And, they're more than happy to take the field at, wherever that may be. But I don't know if I can necessarily blame the player for saying, I was paid as a third baseman, that's where I want to play.
Yeah, I would say that in my experience, I've always been the type of guy that I just want to play. And you guys have both seen this with softball. I've played infield, I've played outfield, I've caught. About the only thing I haven't done is pitch. And I don't plan to. But again, like Derrick said, I'm not getting paid millions of dollars. But that also means that, like how badly do you want to win, Devers? Like, what's best for the Red Sox in that scenario is for you to just do what they're asking you to do. Like, try first base. I'm sure if you go out there and you make 10 errors in a week, like, they might just say, okay, you can DH. But why aren't you willing to do whatever it takes, whatever your team or your coach or your manager or GM, whatever they ask you to do to win, because you are making that amount of money? I personally don't understand it because, like I said, I would play wherever just to play. But these guys, I don't want to say these guys. Some athletes in the majors of all sports feel entitled for some reason. I'm not sure why. Like, you're getting paid $30 million or more, whether you're playing third base, first base, or DH. Like, what? Like, are you trying to help your team win or not?
Well, and so here's the other thing of it, too. And I don't know, obviously, we weren't in when it comes to, we don't know if the Red Sox talked to Devers before they signed Bregman. We don't know what the talks were like between the Red Sox and Bregman. I know the reports originally when they were main contenders to go after Alex Bregman, there was a lot of talk about Bregman playing second base, which I thought was the best option. Excuse me. I know Devers isn't. I don't know. Devers isn't gonna win any platinum gloves anytime soon. I mean, you basically signed him because of his bat. You signed him because the guy's rarely hurt, from what I can tell. I thought as the Red Sox, the signing of Bregman and playing him at second base and having Devers at third, you had a couple young first basemen that you were very high on. We're gonna kind of platoon, unless somebody basically just kind of set the world on fire and took it over. So if the organization made a promise to Devers that he was going to play third base, to get him basically to give the okay and to sign off as the team superstar, because I don't know if people know this or not, but there's a lot of teams that go to their superstars to get like you can sign that guy. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know if that's what I don't know if that's what Devers did. I don't know if that's what they did to get Devers to sign off. You were saying something there?
That's what I was gonna bring up. Like, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. Like, again, relating back to football, what do you think the responsibility of the organization is to have that conversation with their star player? Like, a lot of the times you hear about NFL organizations talking to their quarterbacks about, if they have plans on moving on, like, hey, we might be drafting this guy, just want to let you know. Or like for example, if you've got like a star receiver and they don't have a cornerstone quarterback yet, a lot of the times organizations will pull in those, star receiver, running back, skill players to kind of, I don't want to say, pull one direction or not, but they want to have the response from the players and the feedback from the players and, the potential decision that they make. Like, what do you think the responsibility is for the organization in this situation? Do you think they should give him a heads up of, hey, we're going to possibly sign this guy. We want to make sure you're cool with it. If not, we want to do you right by, potentially sending you somewhere else. Or, do you feel that way? Or
So here's the thing, right? If you're going to pay a guy that amount of money, right? If we're going to talk about whatever sport it is, if you're going to pay a guy superstar money and you're going to basically, you're saying to the world at that point that this guy signed to a long-term deal with a boatload of money per season is our cornerstone guy. Like, this is our dude. I think I don't necessarily think that the organizations have to. I don't want to go that far and say that. I think it is right to go to that player, especially when it directly affects the position or where they might be batting or where they're playing, to ask them. Here's the part I don't like, though, okay? And this is a big thing for me just in general as a person. If you're going to come to me, right, if I'm Devers and you're going to come to me and the Red Sox are like, hey, so we're really eyeballing Alex Bregman to come to the team, right? We have enough money. We think you two will be paired very well together, and we want to sign him, and we want him to play second base. We think that's the best thing for the team. Keep you at third. Keep doing what you're doing. We want to put him at second base. If that happened, and obviously we don't know, and it'll never come out, and it's none of the fans' business to know. But if that is how that went down, and they signed Bregman because they got a blessing from Devers to do it, and then the Red Sox were like, yeah, so psych, we're going to play him at third. You need to go practice him first. Thank you for all you've done. I think that's a load of crap. I think
that's the only scenario in this entire situation where I would agree with Devers.
Correct. Yes, I would too, just based off of the merit that you now have with the Red Sox, so that they're going to come to you and they're going to be a snake about it. I think the asking of superstars what their idea is on signing players, I think that I'm okay with it. I don't think it's necessarily something that has to be owed to them. But if they snaked him, right? And they lie. If they boldface lie to his face, then I'm okay. Like what Nate said, I'm okay with Devers basically kind of getting his, he's being a snake back to them. But Nate, is it tough to answer the question? Is it 100% owed by the organization to have that conversation?
I don't believe so. I think if you're in the major leagues, everybody talks about, well, in every sport, everybody talks about chasing a championship, right? So the question is, signing Bregman, does that make your team better? Yes, it does. So you should want your team to do that, and that's, to me, you should want to win at all costs. So if that means, we get Bregman in the lineup, he gets the hit behind me, and I have to go play first base, to me, that's like, yes, okay, I will do that. But again, as we've seen in multiple situations, sometimes players don't react that way or feel that way about it.
Okay, so just because I think I think we don't think we could have talked about it any better. I'm going to give my opinion on the overall matter in general. I kind of said the only way that I agree with Devers here is if the Red Sox lied to him about signing Bregman. I'm almost positive there was a conversation about it with Devers. I'm almost positive that he gave an approval stamp on it. I don't know that for sure. My overall idea on it is this. You are paid millions of dollars to play a kid's game. Okay? There are people that come to watch you play. There are people who own Red Sox Devers jerseys to watch you play. If the coach, the GM, the owner, whoever wants you to learn how to play first base, get your ass to first base for some practice. I think it's insane to me that making that kind of money playing a kid's game, that you're going to tell somebody, nah, I ain't doing it. Because here's the thing, as a normal working class person, if my boss comes to me and it's like, hey, you need to do this, and I tell him, like, nah, I ain't doing it, I no longer have a job. Like,
that brings up an interesting point, because I know some inside info here with Derrick. Derrick, you were a linebacker in high school football, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you got to GU to play your college ball, didn't you have to? They wanted you to play safety or corner.
Yeah, like a hybrid position, hybrid safety linebacker.
So how do you think it would have went down if you were like, nah, I don't want to do that?
I mean, I just flat out wouldn't have been playing. Like they would have moved on to the next guy. But here's my rebuttal to everything. Like, yes, you're talking about it. Like, yeah, if you're paid all this money, and they tell you to go play first base, like, you're paid millions of dollars to go play first base. But you also have to think of it, and not to play devil's advocate on this, but like, you have to look at it from his side of view or point of view too. Think about all of the how do I say this, like, lost revenue, quote unquote, that he has if he makes the transition to first base and plays out the rest of his contract at first base and then tries to go back into the market as a third baseman. Whereas if he would have played out his whole entire contract as a third baseman, he could still be, maybe he's a top 5 third baseman now, but you've kind of robbed him of that capability because you're trying to switch him positions, and now when he goes back to being a free agent, he's got to try to market himself as a third baseman again.
Okay, but right, and that's a great point. Okay, I can't. The only argument I have for that is what's going to happen. And mark my words, mark it down, September 16th at 9:24 p.m.
It's July.
What did I say, March?
You said September.
Oh, Jesus. July 16th, 9:24 p.m. He is making himself somebody people do not want in their locker room because of what he's doing right now.
Oh, 100%.
This 100%. Is showing. I will tell you what, guys. I would rather be known as the guy that I thought was a third baseman and I have to take a pay cut on my next contract because now I play first, than be the guy that nobody wants in the locker room and I will never play for a contender again. I don't care. And on top of this too, right? You're top tier third baseman, because here's the thing. Devers was never a defensive third baseman. The dude who played like average third base, but he hit. The dude, I think the pay scale for him is the same at first base. I don't think it changes much. But right now, he is making himself look like a complete ass to every team in the league, and nobody is going to want to deal with that when they're building a contender to go win a World Series. To play 162 games and then the playoffs, this is not a guy that I want in my locker room.
Well, I think it's fair to say that there is no right or wrong answer. There's obviously, you can go both ways, but like, as far as other MLB news, Nate, is there anything else you want to talk about kind of around the league that's going on?
The only thing really, other than some trade deadline stuff we want to discuss, is that the Rays are going to be sold, and the guy is talking like he's going to keep the team in Tampa Bay. It was last year or the year before. There was a lot of discussion on Twitter X about moving the team, maybe Montreal or something like that. So that's really the only news I have, other than all the All-Star Game, Home Run Derby stuff.
Okay.
I do want to get into some deadline stuff. Mainly, we're just going to talk about our teams. I'm a pretty big Braves fan, diehard, you could say. And we're having kind of a rough year, really. I personally believe that they should try and sell some players, retool a little bit, and try and run back at it next year. We have some guys that have value that you could get rid of. Sean Murphy being one of them. He's a really good hitter. He plays good defense, but we have Drake Baldwin, and Drake Baldwin can take over at any time. All three of these guys I'm going to mention, we just need to replenish the farm system. The prospect pool that Atlanta has is not very good. They're ranked like 25th, I think, in MLB for farm system. The other guys I have is Ozuna. He's been arguably one of our better hitters other than Acuna over the last 3 years. He's one of the better DHs in the league. I think there's some value there. And then the other guy I have is Rafael Iglesias. He had a really, really rough start to the season. I think they said in his last 14 appearances he hadn't given up a run. He's kind of turned it back on a little bit. But I believe they're so far out that I would be really shocked if they made the playoffs. They would have to rip off a 20-game winning streak like we've seen the Cardinals or the Guardians do in the past to even get back in the mix here. Schneidz, do you have anything for your Cardinals?
Yeah. So the Cardinals, they're actually not doing terrible. I think they're third in the division. They're better than expected based off of them doing their quote-unquote youth movement that they had said at the beginning of the season. I think the big thing for me, for the Cardinals, is get rid of some of your older pitchers, guys that you're not going to have back. So Fetty, I want gone. I don't care what you get for him. I want him gone. Miles Michaelis, if you can't find somebody to take him, trade him. If you can't find anybody to trade him to, DFA him. Michaelis, what a great story he was. There are probably a lot of people that watch Major League Baseball that don't know his story. I think the guy is a super good dude, but he's just not somebody that I want in my rotation the way that it sits right now. I think the most value you're going to have is from the closer, Ryan Helsley. I think there will be a team out there somewhere that is going to want a back of the bullpen. Dude is a straight flamethrower. The only problem with that is the rumors are that what's his first name? Clase? That's his last name for the Guardians.
Yeah, Manuel Clase.
There's rumors that he's on the trade market, which just based off of stats and his success, Clase will probably be the first one taken. Or will be the desired one of that group. So that's what I want. And I want to make room for young guys to be called up so they can pitch into the second half of the season to get major league innings. And if you can trade some of these guys for some young pitchers, I think that would be huge. Another hot take that I'm going to have here, I'm not saying that I'm 100% for it, but I could be convinced of the idea of trading Jordan Walker. I don't see how he fits on this team once he comes back from his injury. I personally think that his lack of success is not totally his fault. The Cardinals have a history of messing up their prospects when they come up. They also have a history of trading guys that do very well other places. It sucks because I had very high hopes for Jordan Walker. I thought Jordan Walker, Mason Wynn were going to be the pillars of this team moving forward. I don't see where he fits. And then my last thing, just to kind of end the conversation here, the Rays staying in Tampa Bay, I absolutely love that. As much as I would love to see a team back in Montreal, because I know the fans there obviously want one, there are a lot of people in Tampa Bay that do like the Rays. They're just basically been boycotting the team for a long time because they don't pay anybody to play there. So I do like the idea of them staying.
I do have one more point on the Rays that I seen today. The MLB approved them to have playoffs in their stadium they've been playing in. It holds 10,000 people.
Jesus.
If they make the playoffs, they're allowed to stay in that stadium and play there. But yeah, it only holds 10,000 people.
Because you say that, I have it pulled up. The Tampa Bay Rays are 1.5 games back. Just to end the baseball talk, unless anybody's got anything to say, I just want to give you your standings leaders, just the number one guys in the division for all the baseball teams at the halfway point. Toronto's leading the East, AL East, Tigers, AL Central, Astros, AL West, Phillies in the East. Man, dude, your Braves are fourth. Good night.
Yeah, it's rough. Buddy.
The Central's the Cubs. That pains me to say out loud. And then in the West, shockingly enough, I know this is going to surprise a lot of people, the Dodgers. And I can pull it up just real quick here. Your AL wild card right now sits at Yankees, Red Sox, Mariners, with Tampa Bay being the next team, 1.5 games back of that. And in the NL, you have the Brewers, Mets, and Padres. My Cardinals are 2 behind, and Nate's Braves, they're like 7th.
Yeah,
5th, sorry. I think 5th. So
we're praying for a better second half here.
But I have nothing else for the baseball side of things, gentlemen.
I want to say this, and I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a huge follower of baseball, but like the joy it brings to me, and I don't really have a team. I guess I'd gravitate more towards the Cardinals if I had to pick. But the last time I heard the Mariners be relevant, like,
dude,
I feel like it's been a while. Granted, I don't follow the game, but like, I don't know, just something about it kind of brings joy to hear some of them teams that you don't really hear a whole lot about. Maybe in this, everybody talks about the Dodgers and the big market teams like that. It just kind of, it's one of those things that you like to hear sometimes that the smaller teams that you don't really hear a whole lot about having some success.
100%, I 100% agree with you on that. And on top of that, have some of the coolest jersey colors besides them and the Diamondbacks, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
I 100% agree with you. Seeing some of these teams that are more relevant, of course, in my opinion, it doesn't matter because for the next 75 years, the Dodgers are going to win the World Series. But yes, I do agree with you that having a team like the Mariners be second in their division and fighting for a wild card spot is awesome.
Well, if you guys don't have anything else as far as the MLB, I think now's a good time to try to pivot to and just kind of briefly go over some NFL news. If you guys are wrapped up with MLB.
Yeah, I'm good.
I think that does it, buddy.
Okay. So we just want to do like a brief overview because we have a few talking points that we want to talk about as well. So first thing we'll start off, the nightmare offseason for the Browns as far as a PR look continues. I don't know, earlier this year they had some news about their first round pick wasn't looking too great. But now their running back pick, Quinshawn Judkins, in some hot water. Obviously, he's being accused, so he's innocent until proven guilty. But he's facing some battery charges right now, so they're not sure what's going to happen with that. The other big news, we've got Garrett Wilson. He signed a big extension a couple days ago. Obviously, the Jets are locking him in for long term as their number one guy. Ndamukong Suh announced retirement, longtime DT, defensive lineman. He is going to be retiring. One of the main talking points that has kind of come to light here in the last couple weeks, actually within the last week, is the Teddy Bridgewater situation. Originally we had it down as just kind of a mention, but I've kind of looked a little bit more into it, and I kind of want to have a little bit of a discussion because I know where I stand on it, but in case you guys aren't familiar, Teddy Bridgewater has been suspended from his high school team based on violating some rules within the Florida High School Athletic Association. So just to kind of go over what he's being suspended for. So originally he was a volunteer, just kind of, don't want to say coaching from the stands, but he wasn't, quote unquote, on the coaching staff. Just to run through some of the numbers that this man was paying for his high school and these kids. From what I pulled off of an article from Bleacher Report, He paid $14,000 for a football camp. He was paying $2,200 a week in food for his players, $9,500 in clothing, $1,300 a week in recovery. And he was paying $300 a week in field paint to paint the fields. And they're going to suspend him. And the reasoning from their athletic director, his last name is Williams, is, quote, specifically, a coach cannot provide free or reduced cost transportation to a student, nor can they purchase anything for that student. That is the reasoning that he's going to be suspended, is because he was spending $700 a week on Uber fares to get kids to and from football games and practice.
Can I ask one quick question here?
Yeah.
What town or city was this in?
So I believe the team was called Miami Northwestern High School, and he fully admits that he paid for the players' Uber rides. And I know Teddy because I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. Obviously, he played in Minnesota for a long time. One of the most stand-up guys that I've ever followed. I feel like the man is just, his character is through the roof, and he's standing by what he did. He doesn't apologize for what he did, which I think is great.
He actually self-reported it.
Yeah, exactly. And the crazy part is, when he was a volunteer coach, there was no issues. But when he took the coaching job, that's when it all became an issue, and that's now why he's being suspended. And his quote is, he says, and I quote, "I'm free to go into another school of my choice, but," in all capital letters, "I'm not going anywhere." So, I mean, the man obviously loves, the school and the kids that he's trying to mentor. I mean, he won a state championship there. So, in my opinion, I think it's kind of, I understand that rules are rules, and people can take advantage of that and say, well, he could have categorized the $2,200 in food, but what if he was trying to get other players from other schools, like doing more of a recruitment thing? Now, I don't think that's what was going on, but I kind of want to get this discussion point going because I know this was kind of just like a broad thing we were going to talk about, but as I looked into it more, it honestly kind of fires me up. We're trying to better these kids at the high school level and allow them to succeed, and you got a guy who's, of high character, really seems like he's doing it for the right reasons, and now he's going to possibly be suspended because he paid $700 a week in Uber rides to get kids to and from practice.
What about the sports boosters that donate who knows how many thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to the school, and they use it, sometimes for things similar to this? But this guy, I mean, I think it's ridiculous that they suspended him. It's not as if he was buying them cars or, you know what I mean? Seems to me, from what I'm reading, that he was doing the bare minimum just to get these kids involved in a sport in high school in, an area where kids could be, they have a chance at not being anything. He's giving these kids a chance by just making sure they're there, that they eat. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean, the article that I'm reading is, it says he attempted to raise, $30,000 in his own foundation to, quote, "help me carry the load so I no longer have to take from my personal funds to keep smiles on these young men's face and remind them that they matter." So that right there shows you that, I mean, he was paying for this all out of his own pocket. And like I said, I understand there's rules, and it's just wild to me that they're going to stick him for transportation. That's what he's going to be suspended for. And we're just going to ignore the fact that he spent all this other money, trying to get kids that possibly wouldn't have rides to practice to be on the team, so that's why they wouldn't try out, to now it gives them an opportunity to better themselves, and we're going to stick it to the guy. Like, I don't like that look. I know rules are rules, but, if you're trying to get the youth more involved in sports, which I think every sport nowadays is kind of having that issue, this is just not the way this is just not a good look.
My question that I would have for the gentleman that decided to suspend Mr. Bridgewater is, what in the world are you doing to these kids? I'm going to be honest with you. And I come from a very small town, moved to a bigger town, but still in the demographic of things, a small town where some people looked up to certain coaches as important figures in their life and ways, and taught them things that they carry with them, and they still do them the same way today. I know I do. I'm sure you guys do. This guy is doing what every teacher, every administrator, every coach should do, and that is putting the kids first, making sure they can get to their practice, making sure they have food, making sure that the field looks nice. Because I'm going to be honest with you guys, as a high school player, if your field looks like crap, you're not all that excited. Like, I know that may not mean a whole lot to people who don't play sports, but if your stuff doesn't look nice, you're not very excited to show up and play. I think it is absolutely ridiculous that a guy that is putting his own money into a school that he graduated from, right, and had a pretty successful NFL career, is trying to give back to the kids because he was once in their shoes. You suspend that guy because he puts up his own money to make sure that these kids have the things that they need, or are proud of where they're coming from, have something to work for. I think it's absolutely insane to me that this is even this is a thing going on right now, because I promise you that booster money has no problem finding its way into some of these dudes' pockets. I promise that.
That's the other thing, and I think that comes back to a lot of it. I think because he is who he is, he's going to obviously have way bigger of a target on him than, you cannot tell me there's no other coaches out there paying to get their players to and from practice. You just
100%.
You cannot convince me that that's not going on. But because he's Teddy Bridgewater and he's had pretty good success, in his first couple years as being the coach, like he says in his own post, he self-reported everything, and he was a volunteer in 2018 and 2019, and nobody had a problem with what was going on. It's only when he became a coach that all this came to light. Even after he self-reported it, now everybody's got an issue with it. Like, are we trying to get kids in the best situation to succeed, or are we going to try to stick players for doing it out of the goodness of their hearts? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he actually cares about these kids and giving them opportunities to show them that they can be something in their life. That's the guys we're going to put the stick to. I just don't. I think it's ridiculous. Like, I don't think there's any other way to put it.
I think this school has done a serious disservice to their students.
Yeah, I just it's kind of frustrating, and like I said, I feel like maybe because I was a Vikings fan at one time, I know Teddy Bridgewater's a good guy, but I just hate seeing stories like this. I mean, he was being super transparent about it, and now we're going to try to put the stick to the guy. I just don't. I don't think it's a good look.
No, I agree. And, when I was a young kid playing sports, there was multiple times that a coach would pick me up to go to practice, pick me up for a game, or I would ride with another teammate. Like, not everybody that plays sports is well enough off to have their parents available to take you to and from practices and games. Like, it's clear to me, not being a Vikings fan, not really knowing much about Teddy Bridgewater, that he's doing this for the kids. It's sickening that they want to suspend him for this.
And I mean, and not to get too, like, in depth with it and, like, try to bring too much doom and gloom, but I mean, the harsh reality is, you do have some kids that some of the only meals they get is when they come to school. So now, like, if now they could possibly have an opportunity to go be part of something that they wouldn't have because they didn't have a ride to school or to practice. Now they have that opportunity to possibly, open up a new door where they can, flourish and become, maybe they can go play college ball and get their college tuition paid for. But now you're suppressing that ability because you want to suspend a guy because he's paying for rides for his kids.
Well, and then here's the thing too with that as well. Like, and we all know this, right? Like, I still get it. playing slow pitch because it gives me the same feeling that I had playing baseball. It's an outlet. Like, there's a lot of people that play sports in high school that eventually come to the realization, like, hey, high school's probably it for me, right? Like, I'm not good enough to go play somewhere else. You know, there's a lot of kids, I'm sure, that are on the fence, and there's a handful of kids that are like, hey, I have an opportunity here to be really good, right, and to set myself up for the most success. But every single one of those players, whether you're not very good, whether you're on the fence, or you're the stud of the state, it is an outlet for all of those kids. It is a way to get a break from reality. It is a way to go do something that you love to do, and you don't think about anything else that's going on. You are fully focused in what you're doing, whether it be the baseball field, the football field, the basketball court, the golf course, whatever the case may be. That's all you're thinking about, and nothing else creeps into your mind, right? And unfortunately, like you said, the whole, there's a lot of kids in the world today that their only meal comes from school, right? There's a lot of kids also in school where their home life is not great, right? And that's not their fault. So
Absolutely.
So having kids be, because here's the thing, like, yes, Teddy Bridgewater is the one that is suspended, but you're punishing the kids more than you're punishing Teddy Bridgewater.
Mm-hmm.
You're punishing them, and they had nothing to do with it. All they wanted was the outlet to go play a sport that they love, to get a break from reality for however long the case may be, you know, for however long the practice is or whatever, to hang out with friends, and like Nate said, to get a shot, right? Like, most people, all they want is a shot. To be able to go on and be great, right? Mm-hmm. Like, when I coached kids, right, me and Nate both coached the same team, a big thing for me was when kids were I don't want to say scared, but gun shy about doing certain things. My big phrase to them was, go be great, right? Go be what people said you couldn't, right? Don't let anyone tell you can't do anything, right? And I know me and Derrick have talked about this. Actually, Derrick called me kind of a freak because, like, we would go to the gym, right? And most people listen to music to get themselves pumped up. My whole life, I've been told that I couldn't do something, right? So if I need any extra juice, I just have to close my eyes and listen to those voices, and that's what gives me the juice to go out there and do whatever the case may be that it is that I'm doing to get me fired up to go, right? And you just looked at an entire football team and told them, this can't happen, we're suspending your coach, good luck to you, is basically what just happened. You have done a huge disservice to your students. In my opinion, you've done a huge disservice to the community. Teddy Bridgewater, you probably won't hear this, but if you do, brother, you did a great job, and I commend you for it. I hope the suspension goes away, and I hope you continue coaching the same way that you've been doing it and laying it all on the line for the kids. You are awesome.
Yep, that pretty much sums it up. You know, I like you said, I think it's a huge disservice to the kids more than anybody. You're sticking it to Teddy, but I think the real victims, so to speak, of this are going to be the kids and the student athletes. Nate, I see that you have some other news potentially on a new signing that happened.
Yeah. As we were sitting here talking about Mr. Bridgewater, I just got an alert on my phone that Von Miller just signed a 1-year deal with the Commanders.
Dude's going to play till he's 75.
Yeah, he's getting up there.
I'm telling you what, man, that team...
It's going to be good.
They're going to be... Yeah.
It sucks being a Cowboys fan, let me tell you.
I know that we're probably going to do some, standing previews before the season and stuff like that, but I think they're going to give Philadelphia a run for their money for that division.
I 1000% agree. It sucks right now being a Cowboys fan. It sucks so much.
So pivoting to our next point.
Hold on, can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
I just kind of came to mind. I was really focused on the whole Bridgewater thing and didn't ask this earlier. The Ndamukong Suh retirement. Is he gonna go down as like the dirtiest football player ever?
Oh, I don't know about dirtiest.
Who was the guy in Tennessee, Henderson, that stepped on somebody's ankle? Big DT.
I think it was Suh. Suh stepped on a dude's ankle.
I think Henderson.
Like curb
did, too.
stomped his ankle.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely he was dirty.
I wouldn't
I'll
say
go
he
out
was
and
a
say
clean
that.
player.
But I don't know about dirtiest.
What do you? Okay,
Some of them older, players back in like the
Oh yeah.
well, I mean the game.
80s,
The game was played.
man.
Yeah, the game was played a little different than. That's right. So we had to take that in consideration. But like, I remember. Right, like the football thing for me. Like I didn't grow up watching football. I grew up watching baseball. The football thing has come around later to me in life. But I just remember, like, any time his name was mentioned, it was never like, oh, Ndamukong Suh gets 7 sacks this week, or Ndamukong Suh makes this great play. It was always like Ndamukong Suh steps on player's head, or Ndamukong Suh tries to rip guy's head off after the whistle's been blown. Like, all the time. Like, the dude was basically just a jerk for 13 seasons.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of have to tap into that as a football player, but yeah, like you said, there's some limits to that. Like, I understand being aggressive and physical, but I mean, I'm pretty sure, how do I put this? There was one time he stepped on another player's private parts, we'll just put it that way.
Ooh, yes.
And was very upfront about it. I mean, he's on camera doing it, so I don't really put that in the stand-up clean NFL player category, that's for sure.
Hall of Fame or no?
No.
No.
I don't even think it's a question.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I'm sorry. I know I interrupted you there. I apologize.
No, you're good. I was just going to get to the next point on some of this contract talk that's going on around the league. The latest one, the 49ers receiver Jennings, basically kind of pulling one of those, trade new deal or trade me situations.
Myles Garrett.
And you mentioned Myles Garrett. There's some other guys around the league that are still waiting on contracts. You got Hendrickson in Cincinnati. And then obviously the other Cincinnati big news is their first-round pick, Stewart. I don't know if this is true, but I saw a report today that he went back to his alma mater and is practicing with his old college team. Again, I don't know if that's true, but I did see that come out.
Yeah, they said he can actually put in an appeal for another year of eligibility and go back to Texas A&M.
Yep.
That's crazy.
I guess the whole contract dispute, for people who don't know, Cincinnati put a stipulation in his contract that says basically if he makes it 2 years and they want to cut him after the second year of the 4-year deal, they are obligated no money to him once they cut him. So wow. I can kind of see his perspective of I don't think that's necessarily right.
What are we doing as a sports society to these players?
Okay,
we're really just getting them and washing them out.
To be fair, you're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals, who aren't the best with contract negotiations. I mean, think about how long they held out on Jamar Chase.
I can see why that is. If that's the contract they're going to try and offer their first-round draft pick, I would assume that with having a first-round draft pick, you've done enough research that says you're probably not going to cut him after 2 years. What are we doing, man?
Yeah, I don't understand it. I'm just glad. No offense to all the Cincinnati Bengal fans out there. I'm just glad I'm not a fan of that organization. I get enough heartbreak and disdain as a Vikings fan. I don't need any more. So,
the crazy thing is, I'm going to say it. I think they also have some pretty cool jerseys. It sucks that their fucking ownership sucks.
Those whiteout alternatives they got?
Dope.
Whew.
Yeah. It just sucks that their ownership sucks.
But, I mean, how do we feel about this whole Jennings situation? Obviously, last year they had another wide receiver holding out. Same team, 49ers, and that kind of drug on. Do we have a strong opinion on players and demanding new deals before their current deal is up?
I think coming from a player, like so I think in this conversation you can wear two hats here to see. I think as a player, right, especially when you play a very violent, aggressive sport like football, you want to make sure that the money that you're going to get is worth the amount of kind of danger, I guess you would say, that you're putting yourself in, right, to be able to afford life after football. I mean, you're thinking about it, you basically, we'll say you play for 10 years and you're living off those contracts for the rest of your life, right? I mean, I guess you don't have to, but that's kind of the idea. I mean, here's the thing, like, if dude wants a new deal, and the problem I have with these, I guess, is how long it takes the organization to make a decision, right? The dude wants a new deal, okay? He says, give me a new deal or trade me, right? Right then and there, you as an organization should have a conversation like, hey, are we going to offer this guy a new deal or what? Or do we get something for him, right? Like, why drag it on, right? If you're not going to sign him, trade him. Move on, right? Because he can hold out the whole season and never play it down for you.
Schneidz, this one might hurt, but the epitome of that situation is the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, think about...
Thank you.
They are the epitome of waiting until it's too late to pay a player.
Agreed.
And then now they're going to have to pay over market price for that player when they could have paid him a year before and been saving so much money. Perfect example. Being a big fan of the Vikings, Jefferson got paid. CeeDee Lamb still didn't get a deal. If you would have paid CeeDee Lamb before Jefferson got paid, you could have saved. It's not going to be a huge savings, but a couple $1 million on your salary cap never hurts every year.
How about one of the top 5 defensive players in the league doesn't have a deal?
Well, I was getting to that point, but yeah, those are the players that need to be signed before they get to the last year of their deal.
Yes.
Because I don't blame them for not wanting to play out the rest of they want a new deal before their rookie contract ends. And as an organization, a lot of the times it makes sense to pay those guys before that contract gets up. Same thing that they were doing with Dak. They'd string it out to his last year, and then Dak has all the leverage.
But we could talk for 6 days on how the Dallas Cowboys mismanaged Dak Prescott, because I would have kicked him right out the door. Right?
Well, that's another topic.
Yeah. But I agree with you.
They're the epitome of that situation, and at some point you have to look at it as an organization and being like, hey, we can save a little bit money if we pay the guy now versus waiting another year for him to play throughout this year, because the market hardly ever, if ever, goes down for players.
Right.
You said that
the salary cap. Yeah, the salary cap never goes down. They're like, oh yeah, we'll bump it up another $20 million.
Right. You said this guy. Yeah, I obviously don't pay attention to everything NFL. You said he plays for the 49ers.
Yes, he will more than likely probably be the number 2 guy. You'd say, Nate, probably, because you got the other guy, Brandon Ayuk, who held out last year, is coming off of an injury, so we don't really know where he's going to be. And then they got the rookie Pearsall. So it's kind of up in the air, but I guess he could make a run for possibly their number 1 guy even, but he isn't as of right now.
I don't think he's that good, man. I
don't think he is either, but you have to think about what they're working with. They traded Debo.
They just signed Brock Purdy to a crazy contract.
And I don't really think, if you want my honest opinion, I don't really think Ayuk is that great either. But
I don't
what
think
are they
Brock
else
Purdy
is
that
with?
good.
Okay, well, that's another debate for a different day. But
I mean, do you want to look at last season?
I mean, again, that's a debate for a different situation. We could talk about several instances of how that works out, but yeah, I mean, I think as an organization, the Bengals have handled that poorly. Again, they're not great with that anyway. But like Hendrickson, he's waiting for a new deal. He's on your team. He's been a stand-up guy. Last year, I think he was the sack leader, or was at some point. was in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, and still doesn't have a deal.
And also with the
they must not want Defensive Player of the Years on their team.
Yeah, well, they don't want
and
They don't want a
crazy
defense. That's
the crazy
that's
part
true.
is you lost out on the playoffs last year because you couldn't stop a cold. Like you literally had no defense. You had Joe Burrow playing one of the best seasons a quarterback has played in a long time, especially for that organization, and you missed the playoffs because your defense can't hold teams under 40 points.
Yeah.
And now you're not going to pay your best defensive player?
Also, I want to say this because I don't think it gets said enough, and I think it's because he's doing it the right way is why I feel this way. But I'm going to give huge kudos to Joe Burrow and helping try to strong arm the organization to sign these key players back to help them win. I think he's doing it the right way. He's kind of just putting his 2 cents in. And he plays well enough to back it up. I just want to throw that out there. I think Joe Burrow's a stand-up dude, and I think he's fighting for his guys. I would have signed Hendrickson without even a question, without even a thought.
Okay. Playing off of that, because I kind of have a stronger opinion about him strong-arming them, would you rather sign T. Higgins, or would you rather sign Trey Hendrickson?
T. Higgins, wide receiver, right?
Yes.
Hendrickson.
Okay.
I agree.
Especially because of the point you just made. The defense can't stop a cold. So
I honestly think that Joe Burrow, I commend him wanting to get his guys money and keeping them together. Like, that is a great character trait that you want in your, franchise quarterback.
Your leader.
But again, I think that he might have kind of put the screws to him by strong-arming to get Higgins signed because, nothing against T. Higgins, but I don't think you need a 1 and a 2 and your quarterback making up the amount of salary cap that they are in Cleveland, or not Cleveland, Cincinnati. Because I think it makes it hard to build other pieces around them to make them a successful organization. Now you've kind of, put your team behind on trying to build that defense. You're going to have to rely heavily on drafting defensive rookies that work out and trying to win on a bunch of rookie deals on the defensive side of the ball, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think when you're looking at a draft, like if you're let's say you were a brand new team starting out, clean slate, like what are the positions you're looking at? In my opinion, you're looking at O-lineman, you're looking at quarterback, and you're looking at pass rushers. Those are the kind of the 3 for me that I'm looking at to draft. And I maybe outside of the quarterback position, I'm looking to draft those every year, right? Because those good pass rushers and good offensive linemen, like there's a bunch of them in the draft. There's a bunch of in that position. There's a bunch, but there's not a whole bunch that are good, right? And we have seen where certain teams still perform really well with a average quarterback when they have good offensive line and good pass rushers and defense that can stop teams from scoring, like you said, 40 points. So yeah. I would have signed Hendrickson over T. Higgins, and that's nothing against T. Higgins. It is a business at the end of the day, and you're trying to win a championship, right? So Hendrickson, for me, would have got the deal.
I just think Joe Burrow is a good enough quarterback that he could have ascended pretty much anybody that they put in that number 2 spot.
Correct.
And been, I don't want to say just as successful because Higgins is he's a good receiver. But he could have made the signing of Trey Hendrickson over Higgins a little more forgotten. You know what I mean? Like him leaving, because he could have elevated that number 2 in such a way that some quarterbacks can't do that. So that's just kind of how I feel on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Nate, I think that pretty much,
yeah,
I
think
on the NFL
that,
unless you have any other opinions on it. I know you me and Schneidz have been kind of debating it, but
no, I think that gets pretty close to wrapping up our first episode ever of the Washed Up Podcast. I did want to mention that we will be covering a little bit of hockey, so we all follow the Blues here on this podcast, and they will open the season at home against the Minnesota Wild on October 9th. So be ready for some hockey talk on here as well. For all three of us here at the Washed Up Podcast, thank you for listening. Don't forget to hit us up on our socials, and we will be back with episode 2 next week. Thanks, guys.